Hey everyone, this is Sally Hayes, founder of Matrikas, and I'm so excited to bring you Ashlee Laroue, the founder of Fertilitease today. Hey Ashley, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me. I
Thank you for
love
having
the
me.
platform and what you've created, and I want to dive in a little bit more. I know fertility as a topic is I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface, but it is a hot topic and there's a lot of confusion. So tell us about your background being a nurse and how you created Fertilities.
Yeah. So I am a nurse. I'm a clinical nurse educator and a fertility education specialist. My entire career has been in women's health. I have done labor and delivery, antepartum, obstetrics, MFM, which is high risk pregnancy, and then my last 9 years have been in the fertility space. I have done everything from hospital setting to outpatient, to coordination, to being a manager. And then I also worked on the corporate level of a really big fertility practice at CCRM Fertility. And I managed patient education for the CCRM Fertility Network. So I've worn a lot of different hats, seen a lot of different things happening. But throughout my entire career, education really became a passion of mine. And I noticed and recognized over and over again that education, unfortunately, is getting pushed to the side more and more. The more patients people are trying to see, the minimal time that you have to see your provider in the office, the number of patients that are trying to get through. And the nurses are doing the best they can. I do not want to discredit the wonderful nursing staff that you're probably working with and the providers that you're working with. But the reality of the system right now is there's just not enough time. And they're trying to get it to everybody, but they can't because they have to go home too. So I just recognized over and over again that there is a huge gap in the system and a need for better education, better support, better care, less misinformation, and trying to find the information yourself. You deserve responses, you deserve timely responses, and you deserve accurate responses. So I look to create that from just my experience and seeing it over and over again. I look to create it. Fertility mostly happens at home, right? 90% of fertility journey happens at home. It doesn't happen at the clinic. So I tried to create something that you have that support, reliable support at home.
I think that's a very good point. And also, nurses are probably answering the same question over and over and over
Yeah.
again, right? So you're hearing the same question over again. People still need to know this information. So there is a really great way to streamline.
Yeah.
And I think what you've created is really smart. So I want to talk about two big aspects of what you do. One is injection support, and one is texting support. So let's start with injection.
Okay.
I am not going through fertility, but I personally find this very interesting. So, you provide injection support in person and virtually.
Correct. Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, so I can't be all places, right? So right now I offer in-home injection support in the Nashville, Tennessee area where I will physically go to your home. I have a small team of PRN nurses that help me too if I'm not able to. And we will actually go into your home. We'll either educate or give your injections or do both. And so you have that peace of mind that you're getting a professional doing your injections. And it's just one thing you do not have to worry about and stress about because there's enough to stress about as you're going through a fertility journey or fertility treatment. So that's the in-home support. I am looking to hopefully expand that in 2026 to more locations, which is amazing. Virtual injection teaching is available in all 50 states. And it's an hour-long session, and I will literally come on with you and we will do the injections together. I will walk you through step by step. I will watch you do it. I will show you how to do it. You can record it so you have it for later. Ask all the questions that you want to. And virtual support can look very different. It could be education. I've also hopped on with people while they're actually doing their injections, and I've just watched them do it just for that peace of mind. Needle phobia, injection anxiety, it is a huge real thing. And for a lot of people, it's not second nature to mix and administer medications. And unfortunately, we send you this giant box of medication in the mail, and then you're like, okay, what goes in the refrigerator? What doesn't? What needle goes with what? What syringe goes with what? How do I mix this? How much mLs of liquid am I supposed to use? All those questions start. And you might already have that anxiety, and we're telling you, you may get an injection teaching session, you may just get sent a video, and you just have to watch a video, which the videos are fantastic, but sometimes you're like, wait, I have questions in the middle of all of it. So it's really great just to have that interaction as you're learning. You feel so much more confident, and the injections are a big piece of a lot of fertility treatment. Nailing it is really important.
And I would imagine too, you go to your appointment, they explain everything to you. You're in anxiety land, so
Yeah.
you're listening, but you get home and you're like, now I'm in a new environment.
Yeah.
I've just been shipped all of this stuff. What was that again? It's a
Yeah.
lot. So I think having someone kind of hand holding you through at least the first few is very, very important.
Exactly. Exactly.
And yeah, some people don't want to do their own injections, so having you come to the house is brilliant.
100%. It's
I
honestly one of my favorite things to do just because I get to be direct with clients and um and I end up answering a lot of questions that are not just injection related too, which again just adds to the value of it and increased peace of mind because you have that nurse able to answer questions in real time.
I think we don't talk enough about the cessation of anxiety for people going through their reproductive health journey,
Yeah.
especially around fertility. There's so many unknowns. You really have to plunge yourself into this state of being where you're trusting the process, and it's much better to have a trusted professional there with you.
Yeah.
It definitely helps your mental health, um,
Yeah.
but also the knowledge that you're gaining
Yeah.
through the process. So I think that's really great. And that leads us right into the texting support. I think this is kind of the heart of what you do. Tell
Yeah.
me why you came up with this idea of texting support.
Yeah, so we offer on-demand nationwide texting support. You get a dedicated nurse and you text back and forth with that person. They become almost like a friend, but they're your educated friend that you're able to text at any time. So you're not having those Google spirals and trying to figure out you're waiting on answers. Again, it just helps with that stress level. I came up with the idea because again, fertility happens at home, right? Like you're only in the clinic for 20, 30 minutes, not even every day, sometimes, but not every day. And then when you're trying to get a hold of your clinic, you're leaving voicemails, you're sending portal messages. And again, the teams are trying to get back to you. But the reality is you may have to wait hours. You may have to wait a day or so to get a response. And maybe, that doesn't feel right to you. And so I created something where you are talking with a nurse who specializes in this field, seen all the ins and outs, and you're able to get a response. And sometimes that response is, hey, I can't answer that directly. That's a provider specific thing or a clinic specific thing. But here are a couple different ways they may approach it. And here's how you can ask that. Here's how you can advocate for this. So it's almost like that proactive approach too. So you have confidence going into conversations and how to ask things. And so you get the decreased anxiety, you get the increased confidence, and you feel more empowered along it. And it really came from just my years of experience of wanting to get back to everybody in minutes. But the reality of it is you're working with so many different patients that you're pulled in so many different directions as a nurse in the clinic that you're trying your best. But the reality is you're waiting. A lot of it is waiting for answers, waiting for responses, and people deserve more than that. So I wanted to create that.
And when you're waiting, your mind can start making up stories.
Yes.
So I appreciate that you're helping people. So if I'm texting with you, can I text you at any time?
You can. You can text me at any time. I will say we have what I call on hours. So we're
Okay.
on 12 hours a day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that is you're going to get a response within 5 minutes. I think our response time is like three minutes right now. Within those time frames. Anything after that time frame, weekends and holidays too, maybe a little bit longer. But it's not going to be hours. It's not going to be days like you see at the clinic. So you're still going to get a very timely response. It just may be a little longer. But yeah, it's on demand, full service texting support.
What questions are the most common questions that you get?
Yeah, honestly, they're the most simplest ones, right? People just want to make sure that they're doing everything right. You want to make sure that you're doing everything to give your cycle or this whatever's happening next the best chance of success, which I 100% get. So it's honestly some of the simplest things. Is this normal? Can I do this? Can I take this? I'm feeling this way. Can I do this exercise? Um, those are honestly the most common things. And then sometimes with injections too, because we'll get those questions in texting support. Can I inject in this area? Can I ice before? So it does, like, ask us anything. I really don't care. You can vent to us about your clinic. I get that all the time too. It's just you have this almost partner in it that just happens to be a nurse, and you can ask them those, but you're also, a lot of times, as we know, fertility can feel really isolating, especially if you're not sharing your journey or what you're going through. So it feels like you're navigating it alone. So to have somebody that you can just text even about anything, yes, clinical stuff, yes, all that, all the stuff you want answers to. But they can also, a lot of my clients have become really good friends just because I'm going through it with you. We're tackling it together.
Yeah, you're like the fertility best friend,
Yeah, yeah.
especially at a
I
time
love
where,
it.
yeah, I've known people who are going through fertility together, and then one gets pregnant and one doesn't. And I think at that point, it's a little bit harder to have those conversations. So you've
Yeah.
got somebody. It's kind of like having a therapist, right? Like non-judgmental. I'm
Yep.
here for you, complete
Yeah.
support,
Yeah.
without having to manage someone else's feelings. If I ask them this question about fertility, are they
Exactly.
going to feel a certain way? So.
Yeah.
I think this is immensely helpful. I have not heard of this before and before meeting you. And I think the you're providing like a huge solution to a huge problem. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate the work you're doing. So
Thank
tell
you.
us some of like off the wall questions that you get.
Um, Honestly, the most off the wall, I wouldn't even call them off the wall. I'm used to them, but a lot of people get very embarrassed asking about them because it's very personal. This is a very personal journey you're most likely going through. So I wouldn't call them off the wall, but I would call them like uncomfortable questions, right? It's stuff around like intercourse. It's stuff about having an orgasm, or maybe like lubes you can use or not use, or when does my partner need to masturbate or ejaculate for the timing? Things like that people get a little nervous about, and sometimes they get a little crazy in the questions, but I'm also very used to them. It's part of it. So again, ask away. I wouldn't say I've had anything super, super crazy to share, unfortunately. But those are kind of the ones that most people are like, oh, somebody asked that? And it's like, yeah, this is normal for me.
So no question is too crazy.
No question is too crazy.
I think that's important to say. I was a prenatal massage therapist for many, many years, and I always felt like people were like shy to ask a question. And I was like, I see naked people all day long. There's nothing you're going to ask
Right?
me that's like too crazy. Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think too, when you are a professional, you take for granted all of the knowledge you have.
Yeah,
Whereas, like people who are starting to navigate this journey are starting from ground zero. They didn't go
100%.
take a basic class. They just met with a, fertility doctor in a clinic, and maybe they're just interviewing people. They don't know what questions to ask. So I
Yep.
love that you talk about how to craft those questions,
Yes.
how to get the most out of your visit at your fertility clinic.
Yeah.
That can be very daunting and
Yes.
overwhelming. And I know sometimes when I prepare to ask questions, I walk out and go, "Oh, I forgot, I forgot that one thing I really
All the
wanted to."
time.
So I think you're filling in some really nice gaps. That's great. I love that you say fertility begins at home, or
Yeah.
most of fertility is done at home.
Yeah, it happens at home.
I would never have thought that. I just like the
Yeah.
general public, think fertility is happening in a clinic.
Yeah.
So, what are some tips and tricks that you can give people who are at home navigating their fertility? Do you have like a one, two, three?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it depends on where they are in their journey and what
Right.
they're experiencing. I think my tips I would tailor them very specific to somebody's journey and where they're at. So, somebody who's just starting and thinking about seeing a fertility doctor, or even starting their trying to conceive journey, my tips and tricks are going to look a little different than somebody who has experienced maybe a couple cycles that haven't gone great, and they're really, they're tired, they're exhausted, and they're looking for that support that gets them across that like next hurdle. And then somebody that's pregnant that I'm potentially working with, my tips and tricks may look different. So that's a wonderful question. I would just end up like tailoring it to the whole person, the individual, right? Because the journey is not one size fits all. I think that's one of the things we get very easily caught up in is comparing like, oh, so and so had this happen, and it's really hard to do this. We do this in life in general, so it's hard to do that, not to do that. But yeah, I would tailor my tips to kind of where that person's at, what their specific goals are. Yeah,
You mentioned pregnant clients.
yeah,
So I think when we talk about fertility, people think we're only talking about the fertility journey, but it sounds like it doesn't stop there. So let's say I'm going through fertility. I've got a subscription for texting with Fertilitease, and then I get pregnant. Yay, that's the goal, right? What happens then? I get to continue with the service.
you do. So we follow clients all the way from very beginning of the journey, trying to conceive, maybe thinking about talking to your OB or getting some testing done. Maybe it's been a couple months, you're not sure what questions to ask, if it's time to see a fertility specialist, are you tracking your ovulation correctly? All those things. We can start at the very beginning. We'll pick you up anywhere in the middle of all of that. But if your goal is to conceive and to have a baby, we will follow you through pregnancy as well, because the fertility journey doesn't stop there. And the reality of it is, you see your fertility doctor and you're pregnant, and maybe it took years, and maybe you've had a few miscarriages, or whatever your story is. There's probably still a lot of anxiety there. And the anxiety doesn't stop just because all of a sudden you're pregnant and, oh, yay, great. No, that's just the beginning of some more anxiety that's come up. So you've seen your fertility doctor, maybe you've gone in for, weekly ultrasounds, and then now it's around 8 weeks of pregnancy, about a month after that positive pregnancy test, and now they discharge you to your OB. Okay, great. But now you're back in kind of regular healthcare, and your OB may say, all right, I'll see you in a month, I'll see you in 6 weeks. And then you're like, wait, how do I know things are normal? How do I know things are going okay? And so that's where having the texting support and following you through pregnancy, it helps with that anxiety. You still have that nurse that you can text. We'll give you tips and tricks for labor and delivery. Whatever questions that you have to kind of prepare. So we continue to follow our clients through pregnancy and into early postpartum, because again, the journey doesn't just stop there. And we found that our clients really find a lot of really good support in just having that peace of mind that you have a nurse that you can text on demand, especially in such a sensitive time as pregnancy, because depending on your journey, it probably took a lot for you to get to that point.
Fertility and pregnancy is often put into two separate categories. They're often
Yeah.
very separated, and I
Mhm.
appreciate the work that you're doing here because I don't think they can be separated. I think that we all need each other.
Yeah.
And I think, especially with practitioners, fertility practitioners are not to be sequestered away from pregnancy and postpartum practitioners. I think we all need each other, especially for
Yeah.
this wraparound care. Can you tell us what types of providers refer to you and what types of providers you refer to as well?
Yeah. So OBs, obviously. So OBs, obviously fertility providers. But the lesser known people that may refer are your reproductive psychologists, your reproductive lawyers, people working in the third party space, because we will support people going through a third party journey, acupuncturists, because when, as clients are seeing their therapist, their acupuncturist, they're asking a lot of questions because it's a human, it's a person in front of them that they can ask questions that know a little bit about fertility. And that's what we're craving. We're craving that connection. We're craving to kind of talk about it. We're craving to get answers and ask those questions. So it's kind of cross referral both ways for all of those. I would say those are probably the primary, and I think it goes both ways. Like I get referrals from them. And the reality of it is as somebody's navigating a fertility journey, I may recommend a therapist to someone. I may recommend a acupuncturist to someone. I have clients that seek a second opinion and are looking for maybe another OB or maybe a new fertility clinic. So I'll help in that process. So it's very a cross referral in kind of all those avenues.
I love that. Obviously that's what we do at Matrikas is connect people together so that we can
Yeah.
refer appropriately and know each other. And that's how this started. I was a prenatal massage therapist for over 26 years, and I had clients that would ask me anything. Turns out when you're naked on a table, you get real vulnerable really quickly. And, I would have clients that I saw through multiple pregnancies, successful pregnancies, and then they would have infertility issues. And now they're navigating a whole new world.
Yeah.
And I always love to hear who people are talking to. I think it's always a little bit surprising,
Yeah.
as to who sometimes is the main referral source. But yeah, we all work together to provide this
Yes.
wraparound care, and it's all
Yes.
very necessary. And I think, especially somebody who has their hands on you, acupuncture, chiropractic massage, like we definitely get a lot of those questions
Yeah.
filtered too. So it's important to
Absolutely.
know, all your OBs and your clinics and your nurses and who else
Yeah.
is going to be working with you.
We're not experts in everything, nor should we be,
Right.
right? So I think having people that you've connected with that you can give a reliable referral to, I love that because I've had a conversation with this person. They would be great for you for X, Y, and Z. I think sometimes in like the coaching space that I'm kind of in, I'm a nurse, but yes, I function as a coach. Um, a lot of people try and stretch what they provide as far as resources and care and sometimes that's not to the benefit. You think you're supporting your client, but if you aren't trained in that, if that is not your expertise, guessing or chat GPTing something or whatever just to provide an answer is not the best thing. So I always try and recognize my limits in the different categories because yes, it's very intertwined. It is a full spectrum. This is a whole person we are talking about. It's not just this, it piece of it. So I think it's so valuable to have resources and referral sources that you have talked to. You've had a conversation with, so you're not just Googling like, oh yeah, I found this person in your area. I've never talked to them. It's so nice to have that connection with somebody else and say, hey, I've talked to this person. They're fantastic. I think they could really help you. And that gives your client confidence too, right? Of like, hey, I'm very entwined in the community, and I have reliable people that I can refer you out to if I kind of hit my scope.
Absolutely. And, I get asked all the time, obviously, like, who do you know? And it's always
Yeah.
like very specific. Who do you know in Burbank, California that takes insurance that does this very specific? And I'm like,
Yep.
I've got this person who's over here. I've got this person who takes insurance, but I will often crowdsource from the members and just say, who are we loving? I don't actually, this is a gap where I don't have anyone
Yeah.
who fulfills these specific things, who can support here. And I do trust all the members, and I think that when you build the relationship with people, you trust them to give you a referral. And I think clients and patients often trust us
Yeah.
to give them the referrals. So I think that's very important. All right, so I think we've covered just about everything. I wanted to ask kind of about pricing and how you do it. All of this is under one package, or can I just book a in-home session to learn how to inject one off? Is it a la carte? How do you work this system?
Yeah. So I specifically left all the services a la carte when I set this up. And the reason for that is people need different support at different times in their journey. And the journey very much ebbs and flows. You go through high points of there's a lot going on, and then maybe you're waiting or you're taking some time off, or there's this period where you maybe don't need as much support. And I recognize that this is a very expensive process for a lot of people. And I don't want to be the cause of more stress because you're tied into a monthly membership that you can't get out of, or, but you're not really using it. So I left everything a la carte so you can purchase things as you need them. So injection support, purchase it when you need it. If you need to have a coaching session and just a little bit longer education or a one-on-one session to prepare for something, schedule it. The texting support is a monthly subscription, so you have access, but there's no monthly minimums. So you could just even sign up for a month and use it during your IVF cycle. And then, hey, I'm going to drop it for now and maybe I'll pick it back up when I go into transfer. Or I've seen so many different scenarios. And again, I did that on purpose because being in the field, I recognize the financial aspect of it. I recognize the ebbs and flows, and not everybody needs all of that support. Maybe I'm super confident in injections and needles, but I need help here. Or maybe it's vice versa. I just need injection support and I don't really want to use anything else. So I left it very open and flexible, and the client's in control.
That's amazing. I look through your website and I think it's very well laid out. And I love that you do a la carte. That's kind of a low risk intro for a lot of people when they
Yeah.
are looking at sometimes insurmountable financial charges
Yes.
from clinics and things like that. So I appreciate that you did that. And it feels like that's a low barrier to get people the support that they actually need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that we've talked about everything, tell us how people can find you and how they can work with you.
Yeah. So you can go to our website. Everything is on there. I have very transparent pricing. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. There's a lot of information on there. My contact information is on there. And I do also offer a free intro call if you just want to have a conversation before you kind of purchase anything or move forward with anything. So lots of different options. You can head to the website. It's just www.fertilitease.com. We're also on social media, so you can find some of our educational stuff and informational stuff on there, and then obviously the links through that. So yeah, I tried to keep it as easy and simple as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today and
Thank you for
giving
having
us
me.
all of this information. You're so great. And I am just so impressed that you're giving so much education to everyone. And on-demand tech support is next level. So thank you so
Thank you.
much for joining me today.
Thank you.